I transitioned as a minor. When I hear people like Buck say that that shouldn't be a thing, he's saying that my childhood shouldn't exist. He's saying that the type of person that I am should be illegal. Of course I'm going to lash out at that. Of course I'm going to be angry at that. That's incredibly insulting.
So, Buck, this is going to be an interesting line of conversation. So, would you differentiate between sex and gender?
That's a great question, and I'll be honest with you. Today, now, no. I think they're exactly the same. I would have said prior to where we are today, with questioning what a woman is, I would have said, I get it. Gender can be something socially constructed, or you can pick it. But I think today,
because you like, for example, I'll let you finish, but I'll tell you. And sorry to interrupt. Just want to go back and forth a bit.
That's okay.
Like, for example, you said you'll use a male bathroom because you respect, and you said, like, look at me, because I look at you and you look like an incredibly buff, great-looking man with an incredible beard. So, and then you've got the suit on. So you made a really good point by saying that. So can I make the argument that your gender is male and your sex is female?
Well, you could make any argument you like, my friend, but I'm going to tell you for myself. And again, I want everybody to understand, I am speaking for myself here today. I do not represent a trans community. I represent nobody. I represent me and what I have done in order to have a better life, in order to not, be off this earth. So that being said, today, I believe that I emulate a man. I am not a man. And on some level, and I hate to say this because it could be used against me but on some level, I wear a costume. I'm not denying my biology. It's not possible for me to deny my biology. I still have a vagina. I have female reproductive system that completely got torn apart from long-term use of testosterone. I almost died from it. Again, you must remember the length of time I have for my transition. And it's why I encourage the younger generation to stop denying their biology. And it hurts us when we do that. It hurts us not only to the world, but it hurts us medically.
You don't speak for the younger generation.
I'd let yes. So Sulaiman, did you have? Let you ask your question, Sulaiman. I would love to go to Keffals just to respond to the points.
It's actually linked to Keffals anyway. So, Book, my question to you is this: you said that you're a biological woman and a trans man, and you said as that you use the male bathroom. How is that any different to Keffal using a female bathroom? That's the bit I'm not understanding.
You're muted, by the way, Buck.
Thank you. What's not to understand? I don't understand the question. What's not to understand? I told you that.
I think Sulaiman.
Issues in this space has been.
I told you that I'm a biological female who looks like a man, walks the world as a male, but I'm accepting of my biology. Now, the thing is that I don't know this person, Keffals. I only know that she attacks me constantly, but other than that, I have no idea who this person is. That being said, I don't know what they look like. I don't know how they walk the world, and I don't really care. For me, nobody would ever want me in a woman's bathroom. You could probably ask every woman in this space right now, and you ask them, would you want Buck in the woman's restroom? They would say no. Because
I get that.
The whole point of transitioning is for me to look like a man. That's the whole point.
I get your point, Buck. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is, but then shouldn't your argument then apply to biological men, trans women who want to use women's bathrooms? Because that's what one of the main arguments for everyone here is they don't want them to, you see.
No, that's not true. That is actually not true. You're making a blanket statement by people here. That is not what people are saying. People are saying that if a transgender woman looks like a woman, let's use my friend Blair White, okay? She looks like a woman, she walks like a woman. Nobody would ever question if she walked into a woman's restroom. We have trans women today that are not making an effort to look like a woman and walk into a woman's bathroom with some chip on their shoulder. You and I and everyone in this room knows it. We're all pretending like we don't, but we do. Now, that's the problem. I'm pinpointing the actual problem. The problem is I'm playing a game here, friend. I look like a dude so that you don't ever question my pronouns. It's why I'm not on the pronoun bandwagon. If you ask my pronouns, it's insulting to me. I worked hard to get to this space. So you have to understand there's nuance.
Okay, go ahead, Mario.
So just if you don't mind, I want to balance it out, and probably Nick, you were going to do that as well. By the way, Buck, I'm going through the comments, and Keffals and Erin, this question will go to you. I'm going through the comments and seeing a lot of the emojis as well, reactions on stage and in the audience, and a lot of people that are against educating are against transgenders and the movement in general are agreeing with Buck and agreeing in the comments as well, just because of the way he approached it, specifically by saying, like, I won't force people to do X, Y, Z. This is my stance. I understand I was born biologically as a woman and transitioned to a male. Now, I would say he's kind of, he did make the argument that he initially differentiated between the two, but now he puts gender and sex together. But the way he's approached it, what are your thoughts, Erin and Keffals, the way Buck approached the matter?
I would love to jump in here, Keffals, if that's okay. So there was a number of things there that are just really important to cover. I think that you asked Buck a really good question whenever Buck started talking about still using a male restroom, and you had pointed out the fact that that kind of sounds a little bit like gender. And so, we don't react to one. Buck talked about his biology and stuff like that. We don't react to one another in public by testing each other's biology. We don't try to look to see if they've got a uterus. We don't look at their chromosomes. We react to each other through social means and social definitions. And these things evolve and change over time, and they're complex and culturally defined. And you did a very good job at pointing out how that was indeed the case with Buck. In terms of, but I actually want to go to what Buck had said at the end there and kind of touch on what you just mentioned. That eliminates a lot of cisgender people too. And in fact, we have found that whenever bathroom bans on transgender people are enacted in the United States, the people that are most often targeted by those bans end up being gender nonconforming cis women who go into bathrooms with short hair, who may look a little bit masculine, and then who get beat up or dragged out by men that then enter the bathroom. And so, we've seen this happen time and time again. I also want to talk about forcing, because we've had so many discussions so far about forcing you to use pronouns, forcing you to use a certain bathroom, etc. Nobody's forcing Buck to do anything. But what I will say is there are 270 bills out there in the United States right now being proposed to force one view on the other, to force pronouns being misgendered, to basically force biological pronouns, quote unquote, is actually in some of these bills, to force trans people into a different bathroom, to force trans people to not be able to get medical care that they need. And so
can you go into a little bit more detail on that? Because that seems like a pretty blanket generalization of what these bills may or may not be.
I talk about the bills. Oh my God, yes. Which one? What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. Let's give. Cite a specific one. That's
absolutely.
the most extreme one that you think, because that's
right. Tennessee HB1 and Tennessee SB1. So this is House Bill 1, Senate Bill 1. That means that it is the first bill.
It is the first bill in the session, yeah.
First bill that they introduced, the very first one, because this was their number one issue that they wanted to do. This bill basically says that if you as a parent listen to your doctor and give your kid gender-affirming care, they will take your kid away from you and charge you with child abuse. I expect this bill to pass. You can look it up, SB1, HB1. You can read the text. It literally has child abuse provisions in it. They asked on the stand if this would happen. They said yes. And so not only does it do that, it prevents you from leaving the state, going out of state to seek that care, because it says that shows that you have intent to seek gender-affirming care. There are bills that are like this that are moving all across the country. We also saw, and anybody listening can look this up. Look up Greg Abbott child abuse transgender.
Okay, so let's go over SB1 real quick, because that it prohibits a healthcare provider from performing on a minor or administering to a minor a medical procedure for the purpose of enabling a minor to live with an identity inconsistent of a minor's sex. So basically, a minor. Okay, so we're talking about children
under 18.
Here.
Yes,
and that is a huge issue, because I'll be honest, there were a lot of decisions that I made under 18 that were stupid.
Of course.
Really dumb. So that's
of course.
And if my parents were enabling those life-changing decisions that I was making, do you see that as being an issue?
And so here's what I want to do. I want to respond to that. We've talked a long time so far. I think we've been in this chat for 3 hours now about how there are differing opinions on the treatment of transgender youth, and there are medical standards of care around transgender youth. In America, at least, we hold the doctor-patient relationship extremely important, and the ability for the parent in cohort with their care team, their psychologist, and their doctor to decide what the best medical outcome and the best medical care is for their kid. Right now, you may disagree
Never
with
gonna
that
let me
care.
talk.
You may look at the studies and say that you're not convinced by it, but these are not your kids. These are these parents' kids. And furthermore, even the people that do disagree with it, it is so extreme to say that I am going to charge you with child abuse and take your kid away for getting hormone therapy or puberty blockers. You may disagree with the fact that this is happening. You may have your own reasons for that. But whenever it comes to laws that go against not only the medical advice and best medical practices, but that also take parents' kids away for doing it, that's a step too far. And I think many people would agree with that.
Yeah, so Buck, I would really love to have your opinion on that, and then we'll go to Kelly J right afterward.
Wait, what about I thought I was giving a chance to answer.
Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. That's fine. I'm sorry, I didn't see.
The one thing that I wanted to ask, because I noticed that this has been kind of unbalanced throughout the entire panel.
Well, we just had Erin speak for a while.
No, not that specifically. But whenever the panelists have called trans people groomers or rapists, you haven't asked them to back it up with sources. But whenever any of the pro-trans panelists,
I don't believe that. Okay, go ahead, Mario.
I don't think. No, I was gonna say I don't think we need them to back it up because I think those statements are just not even
kind
worth,
of egregious.
Yeah. I just don't think they're baseless statements that I don't think is even worth discussing. But I'm happy to refute them if you prefer, Keffals.
I think it would be nicer to have some pushback on it. But
please do. Yeah, I'll give you the mic.
The point that I just wanted to make is that, like, the last time that I have had someone use the wrong pronouns in person with me has been at least 5 years. But I myself am no different from a trans person who cannot pass very well as the gender that they identify as. There's literally no difference between us. And I don't think that the correct response is to be polite and hope that our rights are granted. The first openly homosexual politician, Harvey Milk, was assassinated in office getting to where he wanted. Rosa Parks was arrested for protesting against segregation. There's no minority group that gains their rights by just being nice.
Well, that seems like a little bit of a, maybe a false equivalency. I mean, I know that's argued a lot, but we're talking about basis of racism versus the debate as to whether trans women should be treated as biological women. So I think that's
when we're talking about 270 anti-trans bills and a 40% suicide attempt rate, I'd say
you say 270 anti-trans bills, but I do want to make clear right here that we're talking about with minors.
With minors.
Right, which is a totally different thing.
I was responding initially to what Buck was saying.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Yeah, finish your response, then I want to go to Buck.
Oh, no, I finished it.
Oh, okay, good. So, Buck, jump in.
So here's what I want to say. I think the question was about children. Now we're going that route. So I'm very public about non-transitioning of children. I prefer not to call them trans kids. I prefer to call them kids with possibly dysphoria or something going on there. I do see a push as an older trans person. I most definitely see a push to transition children that I am not okay with. And my studies, mine, I'm not talking about anybody else here, but mine, looking at all the studies, all pros and cons of everything, and specifically speaking with many detransitioned young people who mostly happen to be FTM, female to male, and transitioning back to female. Most of those detransitioners have said that they wish they'd never done it. They wish they got mental health care. They wish that they had a little more time to think about it. So I'm just going to tell you from my own understanding of it. And of course I struggled as a kid. Everyone struggles as a kid. If you're saying that only trans people struggle, that is ridiculous. Not only that, you have to suffer in life. If you don't have some kind of suffering or dealing with some kind of reality, you're not going to live in a reality-based space. So for me, I push back against this narrative of trans kids we need to transition. That's not true. They are actually stopping all of these transitionings in other parts of the world, yet the United States is ramping it up. So that's all I want to say here this evening. You have many great
I want to
speakers.
ask you one more thing, if you don't mind, before you jump off here. And we're going to keep bringing up speakers, so we'll be here for a while. I just want to make that clear for everybody. But So these bills that are meant to outlaw.
Buck, you're a grifter, and the entire trans.
Well, let's not.
Oh my God!
Hold on, guys.
You're such a
I muted her.
hog.
Don't worry.
Guys, it's crazy. It's one crazy thing, Nick, is that they should both be on the same side of the argument. I think they agree on a lot more than they disagree on.
Right. That's the most interesting part of this argument here, is because there are two sides. Like, both sides would possibly be seen as, more left individuals. We've seen that a lot tonight, but there are separate factions to it.
I wouldn't politicize it. But yes, I would say, Keffals, I've got a question for you. Do you mind if I want to do something quickly, Nick? And we've done this before. And Buck, stay with us just for another few minutes. I want to try something out. I've done this before.
Yes.
What do you agree with what Buck said? And objectively and honestly, what do you agree with?
What do I agree with, Buck? I agree that detransitioners should be supported, of course. I think that they're part of the trans community. I have friends that are detransitioners, and I love them and I support them. But obviously, there's an entire community of people who are being used as political pawns in order to hurt all trans people.
Okay, so that's one point you agreed. You also, I'm guessing, you agree that you'll be able to go to a female toilet. He should go to a male toilet. I'm sure you agree on that point as well.
Of course.
Buck, what are points you'd agree on from what Keffals said?
Well, I wasn't here for the whole time, but what I know is this. I have a different opinion than she does. And for her to sit there and call me a grifter instead of having the conversation.
I know, it gets emotional. I know. It does get emotional. I'm with you. I'm with you there.
And that's what it's not.
I mean, okay,
not a conversation. It never will be a conversation because this person continues. Hey, I have the platform right now, my friend. Your biology is showing. Knock it off.
Okay, Bucko.
All right, that's an attack.
All right, guys, we gotta. Yeah, we're devolving here.
We're devolving. I think the point that. So I'll let you finish the point you're making. Sorry, Buck. And then we'll got another question. Go ahead, Buck. I'll let you. I interrupted your point.
So thank you so much. I appreciate that. So as you see, there's a lot of infighting in our community, and people tend to forget that trans women have the most power in this community. They tend to overtalk trans men all the time. And I think I proved something here today. If I have a different opinion than what many of the other trans women have in this room, all of a sudden I'm a grifter. All of a sudden I'm the bad tranny. All of a sudden I'm this bad person. I am a man, a trans man who transitioned 30 years ago. That means something. That means a lot. Do you think I'm going to stand here and take stuff from other trans people because I disagree with what they're doing with children? No way. My opinion counts, just like everybody else's opinion. That does not make me a grifter. That does not make me a bad person. It makes me a person who's listening to what is going on in this community and cares about the transition space for many people like myself who need it. That's all I want to say here this evening.
Thank you
for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Buck. Thank you. And thanks a lot, Buck. And Alejandra, just on what Buck just said, and that interaction between Buck and Keffals, it kind of represents a bit of a split within the community. Would love your comments on this. Yeah, go ahead, Keffals.
I would really like it to be
understood.
I transitioned as a minor. When I hear people like Buck say that shouldn't be a thing, he's saying that my childhood shouldn't exist. He's saying that the type of person that I am should be illegal. Of course I'm going to lash out at that. Of course I'm going to be angry at that. That's incredibly insulting.
Yeah, well, but let me ask you this real quick on that point. There is a difference because there are people that identify as trans, but they do not go through the process of, if you're taking children that are now taking hormones, right? You take a female that is now pumping testosterone, right? That's a lot different. And especially if it goes to the fact, surgery, then that's a lot different than just identifying as female, is it not?
I mean, yeah, I was taking hormones as a minor. I had sexual reassignment surgery at the age of 18. It's been, I actually just celebrated 10 years since I had sexual reassignment surgery. And so often there's no platform given to people like me, to the young trans people who actually grew up and loved themselves and did, good work with their life. I never hear that. But the people, the detransitioners, they get boosted on massive platforms.
Keffals, I have a question for you, and it's generally we don't ask too many personal questions, but there's a reason I'm going to ask it now. Can you tell me more about your experience, your story? I want people to understand how difficult, whether they agree with you or not, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that will probably be a bit upset with you. I'm sure you have a few DMs and stuff about it, just because you've interrupted, you've taken jabs here and there. But I actually want you to share your experience, the difficulties you faced on this journey, if you don't mind.
Of course. I first attempted to come out when I was 14 years old. However, the psychiatrist that I was seeing was not very supportive. Unrelated, I later found out that he was part of a far-right nationalist party. That's neither here nor there. I finally, at the age of 16, found a doctor that was willing to help me with starting hormones. I started hormones at 16. I remember when I first came out, when I was first starting hormones, my dad said to me, "No son of mine is going to grow tits in my house." And then 2 years later, when he saw that I turned my entire life around, I was doing well in school, I was making friends, I was happier than my family had ever seen me, he was then marching in pride parades with me. It makes a huge difference being able to just support your kids when they're going through this. It's
okay, but again,
time.
I do want to make another point here. There is a difference in between, and I do want an answer to this. So I'm going to press on this a little bit.
Yes.
It's having surgery and facilitating that surgery as a parent.
Which kids are, I don't think any kids anywhere are having sexual reassignment surgery under the age of 18. At least not in Canada.
Well, maybe not in Canada, but it is happening in the United States.
I'm like almost 100% certain they are not doing sexual reassignment surgery.
Well, we'll confirm that, and we will get the stats on that here shortly.
Billboard has all. I heard that Billboard has. Yeah, Billboard. Go ahead.
I have no shortage of video evidence from these so-called trans experts all over the world, acknowledging that they're doing surgeries on kids. You can go to my Twitter.
But that's
Sexual
illegally.
reassignment surgery is different. Sexual reassignment surgery is different.
Okay, so I
Jez Jennings had surgery at 17.
Hold on. I just tweeted out a video today from Kaiser Permanente in Oakland, California, where the psychiatrist Kellen Lackhart is asked a question: what's the youngest you've performed these surgeries on? And he admits in the video, you can all go to my Twitter and watch it, I'll retweet it, they've cut off the breasts of 12-year-old girl. And
okay, I'm talking about sexual reassignment
and they've
surgery.
done sex reassignment surgeries on 16-year-old boys. They've done penile inversion surgeries on 16-year-old boys.
So on that point, Keffals, whether they're doing it or not, I want to ask you another question. Do you think that at an age too young to be able to make such a major decision in one's life?
Which age?
Let's go with under the age of 18. What do you think?
I feel like if there's a long enough time that has been spent presenting as the gender they identify as, and there are multiple mental health professionals that are willing to sign off on this, who are obviously qualified to sign off on this, I don't see it as a problem. I obviously think that doctors should go through the proper training. Like, God forbid someone go through this who shouldn't be going through this. That's a fucking tragedy.
In Madison, Wisconsin this year, back in the fall, they had a Pride Festival set up. There was a tent set up with a licensed psychologist who set up a sandwich board. And on the sandwich board, it said, trans or non-binary, free letters of recommendation for surgery. You could just walk up to the tent, get your letter of recommendation for surgery. That's the amount of safeguards that are in place.
That's older.
Are you sure that it wasn't?
Yeah, would you?
They don't have to pay for the letter, as I don't.
So, Keffals, but would you? Let's say this is the case. Would you disagree with that? I guess. If there's no, because you said there should be a certain period. So I'm trying to see where you draw the line. That's all. So where, so if it's under the age of 18, there should be a certain amount of time where that child identifies as a certain gender before being given the permission to be able to perform, to go through the process of changing their gender. Is that a fair statement?
So I'll be completely honest that it has been a very long time now since I had the surgery, and I don't remember what the time frame is currently, especially because I think Billboard, Chris, and I are both Canadian, which obviously would differ from the US. I think ERIN or Alejandra probably have a lot more information on that. Yeah, but yeah, of course.
Yeah, ERIN. Yeah, I want Alejandra and ERIN to kind of touch on this because I see a lot of hands up, and I know there's going to be a lot of pushback on this. So ERIN and Alejandra, I'd love you to tell me more where you draw the line on a child or a teenager under the age of 18. choosing their gender and going through certain procedure to change their gender.
Absolutely. I would love to talk. Oh, Alejandra, do you want to go then?
You can go, Erin.
Okay, I would love to talk about this. So in terms of where you draw lines and how you treat patients, first of all, I will say on gender reassignment surgery, I know that I think it was Billboard's Chris that brought up like a case of like a 16-year-old getting gender reassignment surgery in California one time. This is a sort of a bait and switch tactic that I would like to talk about, because whenever we talk about gender reassignment surgery and one person getting it somewhere, it's kind of like what we used to talk about with late-term abortions.
How is truth bait and switch? Can you just tell me how the truth is bait and switch really quickly?
Yeah,
thanks. That'd be great.
Let me talk, and I will continue to talk. Thank you, Billboard. So what I'm saying is that this is very similar to how late-term abortions were used and then circumvented to then go around and attack all abortions. So let me give you a really good example. Billboard's Chris is talking about gender reassignment surgery in a case found in California that was done. However, Billboard's Chris advocates for an end to all gender-affirming care, including puberty blockers and hormone therapy, no matter the age, going, I think, all the way up to 25, I think was one time I seen Billboard Chris tweet something about that.
Incorrect.
So what I will want to say, in terms of how we draw lines and how we do cutoffs, in America, we respect the doctor and patient relationship. And so care is individualized. You have a care team that includes psychiatrists, psychologists, and medical professionals. They're credentialed, they're licensed, and they work with the individual factors that are based on that patient. And the second that we start messing with that, we open up the door for all kinds of intrusions. And I can tell you that a lot of the people that want to mess with that doctor and patient relationship have no problem saying that, for instance, vaccines are going to be an issue. And so what I'm really talking about here is that whenever parents decide with a care team over a long period of time, it's up to them to make that decision. I don't think it's your job, my job, or Billboard's Chris' job.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. If you want to participate in the chat and the videos while they're live, you can do so by making an account at keffals.gg. Also, my videos on this channel regularly get demonetized, so if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/keffals, and I appreciate all of your ongoing support. I'll see you all in the next video.